Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Before we get started in today's video, don't forget to join our free Facebook community, get real answers to real credit questions, learn from some of the experts in our industry, as well as from other people that are in similar situations that are taking advantage of the free content and improving their credit and making their credit situation better. Hope to see you guys on the inside.
Let's go ahead and discuss ways that you can improve your credit score before getting that auto loan. Well, both your FICO and Vantage scores when it comes to, your auto loan acceptance will be available once you get your credit report. And you can get your credit report by enrolling in a credit monitoring program as well. This is a great way to start monitoring your credit and kind of recognize the weaknesses when it comes to your credit report so you can start focusing on those categories and start raising your credit score. This is generally kind of the basis of all credit repair and how even we at the credit agents do it. And it's a great way for you to start repairing your own personal credit portfolio. If after checking your score, you're unhappy with it, here's some, categories or tips you could go down to help improve it. We have pay down your credit card balances. This is super important, as remember, this is one of the most weighted categories on both Vantage and FICO, being your payment history category. The second one is consolidate your debts. You want to try to get rid of the debts as quickly as you can, and remember which debts won't be counted on your score for each different model. So go back previously in the video if you need to, and remember that the FICO score iterations both consider debt a separate kind of, entity, if you will. So keep your credit accounts open. I cannot stress this enough. People are too willing to close out their credit accounts too quickly if they notice, they have an older credit card. This is super important because there's a separate category that is scored with both Vantage and FICO that weigh the older credit accounts. The older your credit accounts, generally the better it's going to be for this category, and this is going to be your length of credit history category, which for FICO is worth 15% of your overall credit score. So moving on, continue to pay your bills on time. It's pretty easy, to forget about your bills, but in this day and age, generally all of these different lenders and credit programs will allow you to set up auto pay, which I highly recommend. It allows you to never miss a late payment, and it will help build and bolster your credit score. So also hold off on other loan applications. Remember how I mentioned inquiries and how hard inquiries can, lower your credit score, and how you can use deduplication logic to really eliminate some of those. Well, it's also important that if you're just applying for, credit cards, that you don't apply for too many of them within too short of an amount of time. You'll get multiple hard inquiry checks, which will lower your score. Generally, you're going to want to space these out about 6 months. The reason for this is because if you do it within 6 months, the hard inquiry previously won't have fallen off your credit report, and then you'll start stacking them, which can quickly lower your credit score. So the final and last tip I'll have for you to help kind of, prepare your credit score for that auto loan is review your credit report for errors. Generally, people only know about their credit scores, but your credit report is why your credit score is the way it is. It should always be the first thing you look at after seeing your credit score and noticing you took a big dip somewhere where maybe you don't know why. Your credit report is, awesome for identifying these errors, areas of weakness as well that you can really try to focus on and help build credit. And another thing to really note if you're thinking about disputing to help, kind of raise that credit score is make sure there's only one name and one address on your credit report. This makes it so much easier to dispute later on when you decide to dispute a collection that maybe is linked to an older address of yours or even an older name of yours. Because that name is no longer listed on your credit report, it builds a disassociation when it comes to that report being on your credit report, and it makes it a lot easier in the future to remove those types of collections. Not guaranteeing it, but it just makes that dispute process a little bit easier. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before I end things off is mortgage. So what, kind of credit score is used for your mortgages if you're thinking about getting a house pretty soon? Well, it's important to note that for a mortgage loan, it will generally request all 3 of your FICO credit scores from all 3 separate credit bureaus, which remember, each of these 3 credit bureaus use a different scoring iteration of FICO, so they can be pretty different when it comes to the scores. So due to guidelines, kind of placed by the government in general, backed mortgage companies, typically request older FICO scores, with a FICO score 2 generally kind of appearing from, Experian's, databases, as well as the risk model being version 2. The FICO score iteration 5 is going to be used by Equifax, and FICO score 4 is used by TransUnion. So when it comes to the, type of score or the singular score that they use when, finally approving you for that said mortgage, they're going to use that middle score. So when kind of looking at all 3 of your credit scores at these 3 major credit bureaus, consider kind of the average of the 3 to, generally be the ballpark of where you're going to be at when applying for a loan. So it's better safe than sorry. Look at your credit scores first and kind of dictate where you are on average before applying for the mortgage. Or better yet, see if they have a pre-approval process. That way you don't have to worry about a hard inquiry check appearing on your credit report, and you can just focus more on, being approved for that said mortgage. Another thing to note when it comes to, the application process for mortgages is if you're applying with a spouse, the lower of your 2 credit scores on average is going to be used when it comes to the mortgage application. So if your spouse has a lower credit score, take that into consideration when signing under both of your names. And if a mortgage, generally has a minimum credit of 580, then your middle score needs to be at least 580. So another thing, that is very important is remember, look at your credit score before applying for those mortgages. Avoid that hard inquiry check if you can. And if you notice you don't meet that minimum requirement, don't waste that hard inquiry on it. Take some time, build up that credit score, and then come back and apply maybe the following year. So just a quick overview of everything is, remember, Vantage and FICO have very different score breakdowns when it comes to how they analyze and look at your credit report. And remember, I'm not expecting you to memorize any of this information, but it's important to understand how these scores work. Another thing to consider is your FICO score is generally going to be lower of the 2, and the FICO scoring model is used by over 90% of lenders in the United States. So if you're going to pick one scoring model to really try to focus on, let it be the FICO scoring model. You're going to have more success there trying to repair your credit, as chances are if you're repairing your credit with FICO, your Vantage score is also going to go up. But that shouldn't stop you from doing your research when, applying for those types of loans and figuring out exactly which type of either FICO iteration they're using to approve you, or if they're using Vantage, because chances are if they're using Vantage, you may stand a better chance in kind of that negotiation period to get better rates for yourself. So that's about all we have for today. My name is Michael, and you have been watching the Credit Agent Show. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you guys enjoyed, be sure to give us a thumbs up and comment down below with a chance of your comment being featured in the next video, where we can discuss more on that specific topic, anything credit related. So next week we are going to be talking about, how to get approved for that home loan a little bit in more detail, if you will. We briefly covered kind of the mortgage process here, so stay tuned for that if you're in the market for a new home and are looking for a more detailed breakdown of that process. So once again, my name is Michael. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.